In this video, we're going to break down every single Avengers character under Steve Rogers' leadership, plus a couple of extra special guests thrown in there as well. Hey guys, Rich from Rich Me Gaming. Hope everyone is doing fantastically well. And yes, tier lists are back, but they have a twist on them. This time around, we're going to be looking at particular characters under a certain affiliation's leadership or a certain character's leadership. And joining me is not just, as always, Mr. Quinn Duggan, but he's also a newest member of the team, Mr. Ron Walker. How are you both doing?
I hope I'm looking sufficiently T-Rexy, as that one comment said. I still don't understand what it meant, but
I didn't understand that one, but who the f*** knows?
I really don't like.
Oh, we don't swear on these ones. We don't swear.
Arms, but I don't know how you can tell that through the videos.
Also, we don't swear on these ones. I'll have to go back and beat that out. But yeah, Steve's Avengers. I mean, it's fair to say, isn't it, that even though it's a leadership that has been in the game since day one, it is still a very, very good leadership. And there's, how many characters do we break down and have looked at and gone, oh, they'll be really good under Steve's leadership because they've got, a couple of active superpowers, some reactive superpowers in there as well.
Basically everyone, right? I mean, there's also the fact that, since the card updates, Steve Avengers has sort of gone through a renaissance period, right, of just actually being a thing.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, because for long enough it wasn't, right? Sam most definitely took the spotlight. I'm still not sure how. I mean, we're going to do a video in a couple of weeks, aren't we, breaking down the sort of first quarter of 2023, looking back at what's happened since the crisis card changes, but I'm still not sure how popular Steve is versus Sam and what the win rates and things are. But for me, he's always been the funner of the two to play. Sorry, three. Yes, Avengers do have three leaders. Sorry. But yeah, Ron, what's your thoughts on Steve, his leadership, what he does, what it brings to the game?
I think with every new character that AMG release, they have to somehow balance it against Steve's leadership. Because being able to, especially turn one players, having active and reactive superpowers at -1 cost is significantly game changing.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, isn't it? And so actually, let's just take a real quick look at Steve's card then. So I mean, first of all, he's a 4-threat character, and I do think that the threat level of a leader, for me at least anyway, does play on how viable other characters in that affiliation are. Obviously, the higher the threat the leader, the less flexibility you've got to put in other big characters. So 4 threat, he's not he's not a 3, but equally 4's not too taxing, I don't think, for a leader. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, I mean, it's bang average. Like, ideally, you'd have your leader be a 3 because you don't mind taking other 3s alongside a 3. There are certain situations where at 4 and above, you don't want to be taking too many of them because you might just not have enough, feet on the ground, right?
Yeah. So a day unlike any other affiliation Avengers, obviously. Each turn, you may reduce the power cost of the first superpower used by each allied character by 1 to a minimum of 1. So there's a little bit to break down there, but basically that means so every character can use it once per round. Oh, sorry, once per turn even. That's an important part. Once per turn. And it works on both active and reactive superpowers, doesn't it? Which is why when we're looking at characters that get the maximum out of Steve's leadership, having that mix of both active and reactive superpowers is pretty darn good, to say the least. Ron, where do you think Steve's leadership ranks in terms of everything else that we've got out there?
Top 5, easy.
Yeah. I think he for long enough, wasn't he? When before Steve had his glow up, it was pretty difficult to even to play Steve as a character, but you would still play him because his leadership was just so good. Now Steve is even better, so you've actually got a decent 4-threat character running the show. I think it makes it even easier for people to play him. So yeah, I'm in agreement. Right, guys, let's start off then, and let's start to take a look through the characters that we are going to be running through. And so guys, just a quick breakdown then of the tier systems and what each one of them is going to be. So it's S through to D, the standard tiering system that everybody in the world understands. Once again, Quinn, apart from that one guy who, whilst he may understand it, he most definitely does hate it.
Well, that's just because he hated Japan, right? For some reason.
It was very strange, yeah. So S tier is going to be just utterly amazing. Just, already a good character, and then under this particular leader just turns on so many things. A tier is going to be, a great character, often making your squad. B, very much middle of the road, solid character, more often than not makes your 10. C tier is okay. Nobody's going to look at you like you're a bit of a weirdo by picking them. But we may just think that there are some stronger options out there in affiliation. And then lastly is D tier, where right now, even under a particular leadership, maybe they're, they could be a good character, but just don't get anything from the leadership, or it could just be that, they're just not really a great choice for any of them. So without further ado, let's jump in and start straight off.
3, 2, 1.
Captain America, Sam Wilson, all of us agreeing. I can't imagine there's going to be too many of us that agree. But yeah, Quinn, what's your thoughts on Sam? Why is he so good? Give us a little tidbit.
I like my headcanon that because he's playing with Steve, his shield is actually just an ultimate frisbee.
I like it. Ron, what about you? Why is he maybe an actual in-game reason as to why he's so good with Steve?
Yeah, long mover, charge costs 1 power, airlift costs 1 power, vibranium shield costs 1 power. Yeah, he's just really good.
He is absolutely, he is really, really good. He's solid. I don't feel like there's a tax on Sam for being a leader. Overall, his car's just very, very solid. I think as somebody said, 2 power for all of his superpowers that he's got means that, he can, a round 1 charge with a long move is not to be sniffed at, is it? Especially when you've got a range 4 attack that you can do off the back end of it.
3, 2, 1.
Go. So Quinn, me and you are in agreement at D tier. I think we just generally have not much love for Hulkbuster.
I mean, being in agreement with you makes me feel just wrong.
Doesn't it?
You feel
Ron,
like a winner.
Ron,
real winner.
You broke the trend. You've gone C tier. So let's not focus on why we think he's so bad. What to you bumps him up from that D that we've put him to a C tier?
Well, the fact that he's a medium move on a 65mm base, and having a 1 power hit and run that always pushes, regardless of size, seems pretty good to me.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I can get behind that. But I think definitely for me, Quinn, I'm firmly in the camp of D tier here.
Yeah, I mean, you've got 3 affiliated 6 threats. He is the bottom of those 3.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he isn't. Those 3.
Just that, in my opinion, because of that factor, you're not taking all 3 of them in a roster typically under Steve. That tends to mean that he's going to be the one that misses out, if not one of the others missing out as well.
3, 2, 1.
Guys, we're in agreement again. This is very worrying that I have 100% agreement rate with Quinn at the moment. But I do feel like these first 3 characters are pretty solid in terms of where they are, solidly in their place. But Ant-Man, D tier for all of us. And we want to just reiterate, this is not saying that Ant-Man is a D tier character. This is under Steve's leadership. Quinn, what for you? I mean, I think we all know the reason why, but, what's the reason why?
Oh, it's because he gets such plentiful use out of Steve's leadership with all of his 2 and 3 cost superpowers that he can discount.
So obviously, yeah, if Steve's leadership was, not to a minimum of 1, then, he would
Man's S tier.
It would be absolutely amazing, because he's got, reactive and active superpowers that are used in and outside of his turn. But yeah, unfortunately, he gets zero benefit from Steve's leadership whatsoever.
3, 2, 1.
Again, all three of us agreeing Beast is C tier, and he's got some good things going for him. That medium move, medium base is quite nice. Quinn, you mentioned their baser instincts turn 1, just being able to throw a character off a point and being able to guarantee it. But I think for me, what really lets him down is because Steve's leadership doesn't work on X cost. Stars and Garters, being able to do, spend 1 power for 2, for example, would have been really good, but it's just not good enough, is it?
I think there's another more glaring issue with Beast, just on the whole, which, as I'm sure Ron's going to agree, is ambush being mandatory.
Yep.
Yes, yeah. Or we spoke about this before, Ron, didn't we? When we did the Inhumans video, because it's not one or the other. If it's always mandatory, and it always happens, then that's fine. But the fact that it's mandatory on a trigger, so you can't consistently know whether or not it's going to happen, it does make it a little tough.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, then the King of Wakanda himself, Black Panther. Quinn, me and you have gone S tier. Ron, you've gone A. Quinn, what for you makes him an S tier character?
Well, he's counting blanks for a start. That's a major defensive boon. 1 cost pounce, so getting a turn 1 pounce means that you can be on a midline objective and still get an attack. And Mantle isn't per attack, you just pay it once, you get it for your entire turn. Paying 1 power for full rerolls on both your attacks, muy bueno.
Yeah, it's pretty nice, isn't it? And I do like the turn 1 pounce. It acts as like it's an Avengers Assemble that you can do turn 1 without having to then do it on all of your other characters if you don't feel like it's the right move, or just being able to jump into someone and do some early damage. Ron, what for you dropped him down from S down to A tier?
Purely for the fact that I think I'd rather take Sam as a 3 threat than Panther as a 4 threat. If Sam wasn't a thing, then I'd probably put Panther in S. But I also think because Panther doesn't have a reactive, also brings him down slightly.
He gets one on his flipped side, doesn't he? He does get that Vibranium Armor reactive 2 cost one because it does change slightly, but again, that's only on his flip side.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, original core box. I think the first core box character that we're going through, Black Widow 2 threat. I believe the only affiliated 2 threat to Avengers, which is really surprising when you think about how many characters are Avengers affiliated, that there is still only 1. Quinn, you went A tier. Ron, me and you both went B tier. Quinn, why A? What makes us so good for you?
Oh, I just need to break away from agreeing with you. No.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's fair enough.
As you mentioned, she's your sole affiliated 2, and having an affiliated 2, as we've talked about many, many times on the channel, is incredibly important. Also, for a character from the core box that hasn't been updated in any way, shape, or form, she's sneakily effective. Like, if she gets a mixed technique off into someone big, it could be absolutely devastating. A 2 threat, removing an action from like a 7 threat Malekith or New Immortal Hulk. Pretty damn good.
I think that's fair enough. I think for me, reason for B is she for me is like, and B, by the way, perfectly good, solid character. Often, will often make your 10. I feel like, she's almost got a bit of a guaranteed spot on somebody's 10-man roster in Avengers. And I just think she's a great point scorer. She sits on, the back end of a back point. You go pick something up with her round 1, you come back end of a back point, and she's sat ticking over 2 points every single turn, and your opponent has to go deal with her. Ron, what about you? What was the difference for you between her being a B tier as opposed to an A tier like Quinn?
Purely for the fact that I think that because there is such a huge affiliation, there's so many affiliated characters for Avengers, that having an AF2, yeah, it's helpful, but you can easily take an out of affiliation 2 that will just perform better than like Toad.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, guys, we're all in agreement here. Being an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't make you any better, apparently. D's across the board. Ron, I mean, she's got Interrogate, right? We know that from Spider-Woman, Interrogate is such a good ability. I think the problem here, isn't it, is that it's attached to a pretty less than mediocre character. Why for you is she D tier?
I just don't think she does anything in comparison to all the 3 threats in affiliation. Like, you've got Sam, Iron Man, even out of affiliation 3, she's very far down the list on 3s in general.
Yeah, there's definitely quite a queue ahead of her, isn't there, in terms of picking order. Quinn, anything else to add, or has Ron sort of covered it off?
One simple factor for alter ego is Natasha Romanoff. There you go.
Yeah, fair enough.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, it is another unanimous decision, guys. D's across the board. Do you know, it's amazing, right? We keep talking about all these characters that are absolutely amazing or could be amazing under Steve's leadership. And it seems like from an alphabetical perspective, the first few are actually not particularly good. But yeah, D's across the board for Blade. Quinn, I think you made the point that, he's only ever seen in Midnight Suns, and that's purely because he is their only leader.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the one time I played him outside of Midnight Suns, and his mobility was so dire that I was just like, I'd rather have Wolverine. But also, D for Dampier.
D for Dampier, yes. Ron, anything to add about the night, about the Daywalker himself?
No, mate, he's just bad. Bad 4 threat. He's even bad in Midnight Suns. You have to take him because you have to take him. But if I had the choice of not taking him in Midnight Suns, that would 100% be the case.
I mean, the one good thing about his card is his leadership, right?
Yeah.
But unfortunately,
to be fair, Ron would play Midnight Suns with Stranger's leadership if he was allowed to.
If he was allowed to, yeah. That's
straight.
a much better leadership.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, well, it seems that we have found our character that really breaks the group. So
Civil war has begun.
A civil war. I've gone B. Quinn, you've gone C. Ron, you've gone D. Ron, let's start with you, bottom of the pack. Why is Cable no good under Steve?
Cable's just no good in general. Even X-Force players don't want to play with Cable, and it's taking up a big 5 threat slot, and there's just miles better characters than Cable. Telekinetic Shield for 1 power is very good, but Doctor Strange exists.
Yeah, fair enough. Quinn, why C? Why is he still in contention for you? And you could.
Why have I spared him from the death? I mean, I don't know. I guess I just feel bad for him. Body Slide by 1 for 1 power is pretty good. As Ron said, Telekinetic Shield gives you an affiliated option for that kind of defense boost. Body Slide by 1 and Avengers Assemble round 1 to put him on a midline and pop 2 shots off isn't horrific. And he gives you access to, a scalable power cost throw, right? Which can be really nice. Gives you Incinerate, which you don't have many affiliated options for. There are some not awful things about him.
Yeah, I mean, look, for me, why I think he goes in B, I just think Telekinetic Shield for 1 power, especially because he's generating an extra power. That's one of the things you don't get in a lot of Avengers characters, is generating that extra power. So he can benefit from Avengers Assemble round 1 while still having another power left to be able to do other things, whether that be to go pick up something or to use one of his active or reactive abilities. So I don't mind him. Is he the best character out there? Absolutely not. But I think he's solid enough for me that he goes in B.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, guys. Well, we're back on the agreement train. So that's the thing. Everyone said A. She had a little glow up, didn't she? As part of the change. Reducing the cost of binary form was huge, and then the fact that Steve can reduce it even more is real good.
Character throw, and also need to incinerate. Pretty good glow-ups.
Yeah, they are pretty good. Ron, what do you like about Danvers? Why does she make that A tier for you?
Yeah, great energy attacker, cheaper binary, size 4 character throw, immune to incinerate, everything you wanted a 4 threat. Yeah,
she's also a bit of a beast to take down as well, right? There's a lot of energy heavy teams out there. The likes of Guardians and there's a couple of others, and Quinn, to your point, immune to incinerate. You get her on a Demons Downtown. Yep. Just not being affected by that incinerate is absolutely huge, especially when everybody else around you is. And the fact that then you can still have characters like Steve within range 2, but out of range 1 of the incinerate bubble, I think he's just really, really good. So yeah, I agree. We all agree. She's a solid character, and nice that she comes in the core box as well, right? So very, very accessible
very
for most people.
A is for ageist because she punches an old lady in the face in the movie.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, Deadpool then, and me and Ron both said C. Quinn, you went with D. Let's start with you. Other than D being for Deadpool, what makes you think he's not great under Steve?
I just don't understand why you would bother. I mean, very much in a similar camp to 3-Threat Widow, you have so many other options that are just so much better in affiliation and out. The one ability that gets discounted, Merc with Mouth, is, it's a solid ability, but also the 4-6 health spread just means that he's a lot easier to kill than you think he is, even regardless of the healing factor too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind him. I think healing factor can be quite nice. I think there's a couple of one in particular scenario, the paranoia one. Paranoia pummels, is it, where you take a damage if you're out of range 2? The fact that he can heal that up, I think is quite nice. Reroll in attack and defense is pretty decent. He can dish out some decent damage if you get the bang 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 bang, however many bangs it is off, and if you get lucky to do all of them, I think you can dish out some damage. And actually, Merc with a Mouth, 2 for 2, feels a lot better than 3 for 2. And in a world where Immortal Hulk exists, maybe taking that power off him is quite nice. But yeah, Ron, what about you? What makes him a C rather than a D?
Same sort of reason. Merc with a Mouth, 2 for 2. His health spread is a little bit odd being 4-6, but with Deadpool it doesn't matter because he always counts as healthy for contesting. So
yeah,
it's just it is essentially the same health pool as most other 3s. It's just that he gets dazed quicker than those, but will live longer than those once injured.
I think it matters less to him, doesn't it? Because as you say, he always counts as healthy.
And you get a hammer on this guy, and he's going to town.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, Dr. Voodoo, guys. Again, it's a complete spread. Let's have a quick look. I said A tier, Ron, you said S, and Quinn, you said B tier. Quinn, start with you first. You're putting him as a just solid, good run-of-the-mill Avenger?
Yeah, I think Voodoo in and of himself is an absolutely phenomenal character, verging on a little bit too good. Less so with Crisis Changes now, removing single extracts. But he generates so much power on his own that Steve doesn't feel super beneficial for him. He's got sap power on his builder. He's got the extra power generation from skulls. His big main superpower being possession is an X cost, so Steve's not helping there. getting a discounted recall spirit or spiritual strength, it's nice, and it probably does add up over the course of a game. But I think there are just 4 threats in affiliation that are more indicative to a Steve game plan, or at least the Steve game plan I tend to run.
That's fair enough. And Ron, you're still seeing him as being an S tier character. What makes you go down that route as opposed to sort of middle of the road, like Quinn said?
I think Voodoo's S tier no matter what affiliation you put him under, purely because he has phenomenal power gain. Possession just wins games. It's just as simple as that.
Yeah, I think I went for A. I think for me he was S tier. I do think the extract change. Now we don't have single extracts. Now the fact that the spread of VPs is much greater, I think does hurt him a little bit. So yeah, and once he does possess someone, he is he is susceptible to attacks. And I do think that being able to recall that spirit for a 1 less could be a bit clutch for you if you have used all your power and something like that. So yeah, for me, I think he's still very good. He's a very solid 4 threat under Steve's leadership. So yeah, for me, A tier.
3, 2, 1.
Hawkeye then, it's 2 Bs and an S. Ron, let's start with you. Why is Hawkeye an S tier?
1 power hook shot, 1 power fast draw. On range 5, 5 dice, pick your type in between physical and energy, and wilds give a condition, and one of those conditions is shot. This guy is Winter Soldier's nightmare.
That's fair enough, and we do see a lot of Winter Soldier. Quinn, what made you sort of put him down the pecking order a little bit down to B tier?
I know he's meant to be like sort of a ranged snipery type character, but if someone does get into him, he goes down real fast. That 422 stat line with 4-5 stamina is very risky for a 3, in my opinion. 1 cost hook shot is great, and if you want to go down the route of cover ignoring Steve on scoundrels, having trick shot available, real good. And as Ron said, access to conditions, not something Steve typically has, but it is an added bonus. But yeah, he's just sort of middle of the pack for me. There are other 3s I'd rather have.
I'm in agreement. I think again, why he's B for me is he probably makes my 10, but he's not somebody that's going to get brought out every single game. If you're coming up against characters that are, as you say, I've got a lot of range attacks, right? So maybe you're coming up against the Guardians, or you kind of have a feeling that they're going to play Winter Soldier, or they do have, or you are playing Scoundrels where people are getting cover, or even coming up against Magneto's Brotherhood, or some where you're going to be able to get more out of those abilities that he's got. But for me, that very much puts him in a B tier because it's a little bit more niche than say a Captain Sam, for example, where it doesn't matter what map you're putting him on, he's just going to cause absolute destruction.
3, 2, 1.
So, guys, I mean, no surprises. Quinn, I think you just surmised it perfectly. This guy is S, no matter where he is at the moment.
He's S+. What do you want about?
S+, sorry, yeah.
He's S+ under Steve. So there is disagreement, because you both said S.
But yeah, just getting a reduction on... he's got 2 active, 1 reactive superpower, and they're superpowers that you use a lot, right?
Yeah.
Hulk, whilst he can generate power, he's pretty good at generating power. He wants a lot of power to be able to do the things that he wants to do. So yeah, Ron, why is he just so good under Steve?
He's like Quinn said, he's just good everywhere. Turn 1 Gamma Leap with an assemble, you're on the midline, you throw in 2 7 dice builders. The dude is just incredible. As he should be. He's the Incredible Hulk. But...
He is the Incredible Hulk. He's not the Immortal Hulk, though, is he? So it'd be interesting to see how good Immortal Hulk becomes. But yeah, I think, look, Avengers have a handful of what I would call big hitters. So, 5+ threat. And for me, he is my go-to. He is, if I'm playing Avengers, unless my opponent, picks a 15 threat or something like that, then I maybe maybe then he doesn't quite make it. But anything more than 15 threat, I think he's going in there. And he just causes so much destruction. And the one thing that Steve can do is keep him alive for longer, right? And that's pretty darn good. So yeah, all agreement there.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, well, the immortal Iron Fist of Kunlun doesn't score very highly. So I've got him down as a D. Quinn, Ron, you both went for C tier. I'll give my reasonings first, and then you guys can tell me why I'm wrong. For me, he doesn't have a single superpower that he can spend power on. They're both in it. He's got immortal weapon and martial artist. So he has absolutely no benefit whatsoever from being in the Avengers. And you could argue his card is good, but then there is another character who can use that card who I would say is better. So yeah, I'm done. Quinn, why is he better than a D?
I mean, I do like how you just summed up the entire premise of this channel at the beginning. You state your opinion, and then whoever's on here with you tells you why you're wrong.
Tells me why I'm wrong, yeah.
He's a C just because, like, I feel like even though he has no synergy with Steve whatsoever in terms of, like, having superpowers that he can reduce, he has access to heroes for hire. Yes, you can take Luke Cage. That is a big detracting factor. That's why he gets knocked down to C. Don't think it puts him in D, because if you really want to, he can be part of a Steve build where you just go and layer and layer and layer a bunch of defensive tech on top of each other, and that can be a real pain for your opponent to deal with. So, like, at least he can fit in some sort of niche archetype for Steve, whereas characters like Ant-Man and 3-Threat Widow just, they don't have even that going for them.
That's fair enough. Ron, what about you?
He still has the fist. He could still turn off someone big for a brand. He doesn't even need to do damage. It's just, yeah.
Well, guaranteed to not do damage. It's a 9 dice attack. Never
this is true.
9 dice attacks do not do damage, as we know.
And obviously, because in the current meta, everyone's playing quite tall into a Malekith for Thanos, a Hulk, turning them off for a turn is still pretty good.
3, 2, 1.
Unsurprisingly, maybe surprisingly to some people, we are all in agreement on this one. S's across the board. I think there's probably more than 3 things as to why he's good. But Quinn, I'll let you start, and you can pick one of the things as to why he's so good, and then we'll let Ron pick one.
well, I mean, for a start, I think the only people that would be surprised by this, tier selection for Iron Man is people who haven't seen the updated card. I'm gonna go with Repulsor Blast being 1 cost under Steve and therefore usable round 1. Getting a range for 6 dice.
Friday
AI. Sorry,
Friday
yeah. Same thing. They're not, but still. Getting a range for 6 dice energy builder off just round 1 with a wild push of any size. Yes, it's mandatory, but it's not like the same kind of bad mandatory as Beast's Ambush. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good. Ron, what one reason as to why Iron Man's so good now?
100% Ricochet Blast. This card is nuts. Anyone that is still running Helios is a moron, in my opinion. A 1 power Friday AI and then 1 power off Steve or Iron Man for 9 dice full rerolls. It's just unbeatable.
Yeah, and typically on a Helios you might be able to generate 20 power to spend on it, but that's a huge power dump.
Yeah, exactly.
And no rerolls. Yeah, no rerolls.
Comparatively, Helios starts at 2, so it's a difference of 7 power for a 9 dice Helios with no rerolls, or 3 for Ricochet with full rerolls.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. For me, let's go in there and say I also don't mind homing rockets on him as well. Being able to get splash damage off is very, very nice. And Quinn, to your point, being able to do Friday AI for 1 power, being able to do a repulsor blast round 1. Being able to do the repulsor blast with the Friday Eye and just increasing your chance of that wild for the push, I think for me is really, really good.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, guys, so another split decision on Luke Cage. Quinn just did tell me off for calling him Power Man. It was his name in the comics.
I mean, I knew that, just to clarify.
Oh, yeah, you did know it, yeah.
It's not his thing on the card.
So 2 Bs for me and Quinn, and A for Ron. Quinn, let's start with you. Why is he B tier?
He's called Carl. No. He's B tier, like, you know, he goes above his compatriot, Danny Rand. Once again, access to Heroes for Hire. Can build into that niche of, like, defensive layered Steve. He's got damage reduction, solid defensive stat line, solid HP. Also, double wild stagger if on the builder. If you get it, you get it. You know, nothing stiff at.
Yeah, it feels pretty brutal when you do get it. Ron, you put him slightly higher into A tier. What was the thought process behind that?
1 power too dangerous to ignore. 1 power for a throw. You still have Heroes for Hire. He is very difficult to kill. Immune to bleed. I think overall he's just a great character. But you know, I come from a defender's background, so
all the defenders,
yeah,
all the defenders' characters for Ron get pushed up ever so slightly. For me, he's just solid, right? He's got a job. Typically, you know, stand on a point. You know, protect a couple of people around you. Heroes for Hire is a very, very good card. People don't forget you can Heroes for Hire yourself as well. People often forget that. I played a game last night, albeit it was Red Guardian. He's got the exact same card.
Whoa! It's not the exact
Red
same.
Guardians is better.
Yeah.
Well, Red Guardians is better, yes. But people often forget, don't they, that you can do it to yourself. And just as a displacement tool, of being able to either A, move yourself, and B, then throw your opponent off the back end of it is pretty good. So, I like him. I think he's pretty solid. But, yeah, for me, he sits in that solid B tier.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, guys. Well, it is a three-way split again. On Ms. Marvel. I said B. Ron, you said A. Quinn, you said C. We're also taking into account the fact, as we have done with all of these, the card that she has. So while she doesn't have an Avengers card or a solo card, she does have a team-up card with Danvers. But Ron, why is she A tier for you?
She has a huge place, which now only costs 2 power rather than 3. She's a true Inhuman.
Gets the rerolls.
What was that? The Inhuman power symbol?
I think it might have been, yeah.
But yeah, I think Miss Marvel's great. When she's embiggened, 90% of the time she's having 3 rerolls on a 5 dice builder. I think she's just solid.
Which does do a lot more damage than what a 5 dice builder should normally do, right? It is, you know, unless you get a couple of skulls, which can hurt. But yeah, Quinn, you've gone the other end. You've gone C tier. Why are you racist?
I just hate Inhumans. I think we should just, you know, get rid of them, send them to the moon or something.
Anyone who plays them as well. What absolute
yeah, especially that, like, you know, King of the Inhumans guy.
King of the Inhumans guy, yeah. He doesn't even know all the rules, does he? And he vapes.
Interrogate gets discounted by Steve.
And he vapes as well, Quinn.
Oh god, yeah, awful. Kamala just very much fits into that same sort of category as Danny, where, like, she's not bad, she's just not really good enough to warrant anything above C, in my opinion. Nah.
That's fair enough. I mean, for me, I think I had no interest in this character, but the more I play with her, and Ron, I think you pointed it out there, her mobility is really, for me, the bit that, you know, makes her pretty darn good. And, you know, take out the trash and embiggen for 1 cost less is pretty nice. And she's got pretty consistent damage output. She can get around the board very, very easily when she does have power on her as well. So for me, you know, middle of the road. And Fan Club is an okay tactics card. Ron, I know you're a big fan of Fan Club. Getting some out of activation stuff is always nice. But yeah, middle of the road for me, B tier.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, so Quicksilver, not an Inhuman, really, just by marriage, but he is an Avenger. We, again, split decision. You guys both put him B. I put him down at C. Ron, starting off with you, what makes him a run-of-the-mill Avenger for you?
2 power can't catch me is really good. 1 power speedster, also very good. The only downside to Quicksilver really is his triggers on his builder. If they were slightly more consistent, I think you'd see a lot more play just for how quick and how defensively teched he is, and getting a discount on that defensive tech and mobility is not a bad thing.
Yeah, fair enough. Quinn, what about you?
B for bagged crystal. No. I mean, in the same vein as Ron said, 1 power for an actionless long move off speedster, absolutely incredible. He's got a cheap but effective spender. 2 costs, yeah, you're getting 6 dice, but you're getting a medium advance guaranteed off that, any direction you want. And like Ron said, if one of his 2 triggers shared a result, so like either they both worked off a crit or both worked off a wild, I think that would like push him up into those upper echelons. But Quicksilver's one of those characters where, he has a really high ceiling for what he can do. If you find yourself in a bad situation, and you can have 1 of 2, 3 threats to like try and help you get out of it, a lot of time Quicksilver's going to be the one you pick because he can just do insane things.
No, that's fair enough. I think for me, it just the reason is C. I look at all of the other 3 threats that we've gone through so far. Sam, Steve. I'd even put Black Widow, even though she's a 2.
Steve?
Sorry, Sam and sorry, Sam and Iron Man. Sorry, not Steve. I just think there's just quite a few for me that are ahead of him in the pecking order in terms of where I would pick them. I feel like if his tactics card was better, maybe it didn't have to do damage, then he may go up in value. But yeah, for me, he's just there's just a couple of people too far ahead of him to really go up that pecking order.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, so another split decision. Another one of the big hitters that we spoke about, right? She is there. One of, really only a few characters that are Avengers affiliated that are purely designed for damage output, right? She is a glass cannon in this game. A little bit, maybe Glass Cannon's doing her a little bit of an injustice because she does have that Chosen of Chthon.
Yeah, she's at least a ceramic cannon.
A ceramic cannon, yes. We both went A. Quinn, Ron, you went S. Quinn, let's start with you this time. Why is she A tier?
She's real good at killing, like we said. The thing with Witch is she's your best affiliated 5-threat option. However, she's overshadowed by someone else we'll get to at the end of this video. She brings some much needed mystic options. Chaos magic is great. Chosen of Chthon makes her a lot tankier than she initially seems. And Judgment is a great superpower. But she's just sort of pushed out a little bit more towards the fringes by those other big hitter options you can take, which is typically what you spend your out of affiliation sort of allocation on with most rosters, I think.
No, that's fair enough. I think for me, A tier, and why she's not S. I think you've got a lot of flexibility in this game to mess around and take Hulk. And I think for me, I'm gonna lean to swapping a 3 for a 2 to be able to take Hulk than a 2 for a 3 and have Wanda instead. Again, it's always going to be crisis dependent. I do want to add as well that she does bring a very, very good tactics card to the game in Whims of Chaos. That Avengers, do not mind having some conditions taken off them if you've you know, got some shocks in there or a couple, you know, some staggers or whatever else. But yeah, Ron, what's your why is she S tier?
This character's S everywhere you put her. It's just as simple as that. In my opinion, other than Doctor Strange, because he is my guy, she is the best fighter in the game.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Bold claims.
Bold, yeah. It's also worth noting actually that Curse is actually for 1 power feels like really good value.
I mean,
Being able
not
to
quite as good as Curse healing you for 1 in Hydra, but yeah.
Well, there is that as well. There is
In
that
Hydra,
as
Understruck her, she becomes S++.
well. It's just ridiculous, isn't it?
3, 2, 1.
Okay, so She-Hulk again. It's split the team. So 2 Bs, 1 from me, 1 from Quinn, and Ron, an A from yourself. Let's start out with you this time, Ron. Why is she A tier?
Bodyguard for 1 power on someone with 20 health and aggressive. 2 power to add dice equal to size. 2 power for a size 4 throw medium. Like, what else do you want from someone that's 6 threat other than Hulk?
I was about to say, I'd have Hulk, thanks.
Like, She-Hulk's great. You know, I've played a lot of Shield, and she's an absolute baller in there. So, giving her discounts on all these means that she's definitely a baller here as well.
Fair enough. Quinn, I think you're of the mindset she's lost a little bit of value of late. Is that due to the change in a couple of crisis cards, or?
Yeah, that in conjunction with the Malekith nerf, meaning that, you know, the big bads you see around aren't as physically big in terms of like actual gameplay mechanics. But yeah, researcher going to 15 threat was a big hit. It meant that, you know, double Hulk is a lot less likely to happen. I think like 16 threat is maybe the second like least common threat in the game now. And it's on missions she doesn't really want to play, like Fisk. She hates being stunned. I think also the big issue that I have with She-Hulk in comparison to someone like Hulk is, yeah, she's got aggressive, but beyond that, she has no mobility options.
Yeah, I think you're right. Lack of 16 threat. You know, you've double hulked once or twice, Quinn, haven't you?
Maybe.
And I think it was quite strong. I just think nowadays it's unlikely you're going to fit 2 big hitters in your squad, and I've already see 2 on this list in the form of Scarlet Witch and Hulk, who I would rather take over her. Again, I think she's perfectly serviceable. She becomes a better character under Steve by being able to do those things for less. So you know, I don't think I'd look at someone and go, "Oh my God, why are you running She-Hulk in Avengers? Like she's no good." Like, you know, I think she's still very, very good. But for me, she sort of sits in that B tier.
3, 2, 1.
Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman, it's unanimous. S tier. Even though she only has the 1, okay? So she only has the 1 superpower that she can use, which is I don't fly. What does she do, Quinn?
She glides.
She glides. Just being able to do that for 1 power, round 1.
Yeah, I mean, means you can be on midline with a single move, freeing you up for an attack, right?
Yeah. And then, boy, has she got some decent attacks.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. And stealth as well.
Yep.
And
And
she's got that.
blanks.
Yeah, I was going to say, and she's got that really horrible thing, hasn't she, that Widow's got as well, where you need to be within 3, but outside of 2 to
Yeah,
really...
like the Goldilocks zone of range for Jess. It's late enough in the video that I'm allowed to swear now, right?
Yeah, you can get you're allowed an F-bomb.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not even an F-bomb. She's S tier because of her catchphrase that I decided was her catchphrase. It's a thing she said in the comics.
Which is, Quinn?
Listen up, bitch cakes.
It is a good good
Real
catchphrase.
good.
It is
Better
a good
than Avengers
catchphrase.
Assemble.
But yeah, I do like it. She is much tankier than that stat line would first lead you to believe. A 4-3-3 with 6 on a healthy side, 5 on on her other. And wall crawler as well. So actually you can put her in certain positions, and if you do Avengers Assemble round 1, because obviously Avengers Assemble is in advance, so if you've got a size 5 building, you cannot, even though it's only a short move, you can't advance up because it's not a climb. Because she has wall crawler, she can do that. And I think that's, it's not a big thing, but it can be if you end up with a crappy side of the board, can't it? Where, if you've had and I apologise, Pat, but you make your boards like that on purpose on TTS, where you put, just where you're putting that.
Well, you mean the
those
board
buildings.
where, if you lose prio, you get, if you win prio, you get given a size 4 piece of terrain right in the middle of your deployment that you can't stand on top of.
That's the one. Yeah, that's
Uh-huh.
the one. Ron, why is she so good? Why is Spider-Woman so good at the moment?
Stun before damage is massive.
Yes. Yeah. People, I think only the second character maybe in the game who can do that. I know Mystique could. I don't know if Immortal Hulk does it as well. I can't remember. I don't think he does he?
You just don't gain power from it.
Yeah, Immortal Hulk doesn't give out stun.
No, he doesn't, does he? Yeah, no, that's the one. You don't gain power from one of his attacks, I think, is it? Either way, dishing out stun beforehand is brutal, because we spoke about before, the catch-up mechanic in this game is, I've just taken a beating, you've dazed me, but I'm going to come back and be able to hit you with everything I've got. You can't really do that when you're stunned because you're not gaining enough power. So, yeah, she's real.
Also, to talk about her other 2 conditions she gives out on that attack, getting poison on someone round 1 is gross.
Yep.
And so is giving them shock. All 3 of them are just gross. And you can give out all 3 on a single attack if you roll enough wilds.
Yeah,
It's grim.
3, 2, 1.
So it's unanimous, guys. Thor is no longer D tier anywhere. He's middle of the road. Everyone put B. I think, being able to do a couple of things there. We just mentioned then, didn't we? Being able to do a turn 1 either for Asgard or a strongest Avenger is very, very powerful. And the guy can take a beating still, right? He's got a pretty good stat line of 6'8" with 4'3" in there. And, Steve can take a punch from him as well. But, Quinn, do you ever find yourself playing Thor anymore in Avengers, or...?
I have done once or twice. I mean, the main place I've been playing for is, unsurprisingly, Asgard. But, yeah, like we discussed, 2 costs for Asgard, meaning you do it turn 1. It becomes less detrimental if you flub your roll, right? And if you really want to, you can still go down the route of moving forward, grabbing an extract, and just wanging a hammer at someone to give them shock, right?
Launching it at somebody's face, yeah. Ron, what about you?
Yeah, 2 power for Asgard, round 1. 2 power, 4 strength, size 4 throw, trainer character. He's okay. He's not bad. He's a good lad.
He's a good lad.
He's a right good lad.
3, 2, 1.
Android. Okay, it is Vision, and you can see there a couple of B's even from me and Quinn, and an A from Ron. Ron, let's start with you. What makes him a very good Avenger in your opinion?
Well, he's pretty much the only access you have to a beam in affiliation. He has a size 3 throw, character or terrain. It's not bad, but with the cost reduction makes it better. But the big thing is his rapid phase only costing 1 power. So you can literally be at 5-5-4 majority of the time, unless you're playing against someone like Hawkeye that can change types mid activation. Yeah, I just think he's a brick. I think he's really good.
No, fair enough. Quinn, for you, why B tier?
I think he's really dull. You're investing 4 threat. He doesn't bring anything particularly special. Like, a lot of the other 4 threats you can bring in, they're going to have character throws. Probably better character throws overall. Yeah, he's got beam. He's got some solid defenses. But he just doesn't do anything. He's not like a playmaker in my view, and I think that's the big issue with him. Because that's what I want my four threats aside from Steve to be doing. I want them to be going out there, doing those big plays that swing the game in your favour. Whereas Vision just sort of sits there, does his beam, chucks out a Synthesized Avenger every so often, and yeah, he's good, he's consistent, he's just not very flashy, and yeah, like I said.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, similar for me. I think being able to walk up and do a calculated trajectory round one is nice. It's not quite as good as Thor, but he's a threat less. Rapid phase for 1 power is okay. It means that he's far less susceptible to attacks if you always keep that 1 power on him. I think he's an okay choice. But yeah, I think I was toying between a B and a C purely because there's a lot of characters in Avengers, and there's quite a few 4 threats that I would put above him. Danvers, I think we all agreed, is definitely above there. But I think he's perfectly serviceable. And again, I wouldn't be surprised to see him in somebody's Avengers lineup.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, War Machine. It is unanimous again. D tier. Poor Roddy Rhodes, right? Quinn, you sort of just outlined there, didn't you? His demise, losing Doom Prophecy.
It's D for Doom Prophecy, yeah.
Doomed Roddy, I think, is what it should be. Is what it should be called. Again, for me, he falls into that category of Ant-Man and Danny Rand in that he has nothing to spend. He's got no superpowers. Therefore, he gains no benefit whatsoever from this. Ron, anything else to add?
Nope.
Okay.
He's bad Iron Man.
Yep.
He's bad
just
Iron
bad.
Man. Yeah, absolutely.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, Wasp, Janet Van Dyne. Her partner in crime, Mr. Ant-Man, was D tier, and unfortunately, at least for me and Ron, she can't do any better. Quinn, you've put her as C. What's the thought process behind that?
I feel like our Jan needs some representation. She's better than Ant-Man for Steve. Tim
She
Dix,
is better than Ant-Man.
She can
for
actually
Steve,
use the
yeah.
leadership, everyone. Ooh,
Yeah.
2 cost. Throw a size 3 medium. Terrain feature only, but it's nice to have on a 3 threat. You've got the option, gives us some extra damage output, and when she's in her tiny form, flitting around, she's hitting people, but they're not gaining power for that damage. Which we're seeing the advent of Immortal Hulk, or at least we will be soon. And, we discussed Jess limiting the power people gain for when she bollocks people. Wasp does a similar thing. She's threat cheaper. Yeah, I think the big issue with both of these sort of tiny superhero characters is they drop their tokens when they change. It's a big issue.
It really hurts them, doesn't it? Maybe if they could... I always thought that the transform thing, especially when it was an active ability to transform, not reactive like a hood. But I always felt like it should be a bit like how Who Is It's Grunts work, where you get to place it. And I feel like that would have been better, if you... Because...
Yeah, because it's like them chucking it somewhere rather than being taken out, right?
Exactly that. Yeah. So, or maybe what would have been nice is a superpower that maybe did cost 2 power that was like a mission objective built into them, so they could hand it off. Like something like that would have been better. I also think if Pin Particles, if Steve turned it on round 1, I would have maybe bumped her up to a C. But the fact that it's 3 power, and she's going to be spending a lot of her power on the change size and doing whatever else. For me, it just doesn't make a difference because I think she's not going to get a chance to use it very much anyway. Okay, that was the penultimate one. Let's go through to the final Avenger.
3, 2, 1.
Wolverine shit!
He's not the best at what he does, and what he does...
He's not very good.
Yeah, well, no. What he does isn't very nice, but not for the reasons you want it to be.
Yeah.
God.
Worst 4 threat in the game.
I don't think AMG have ever fumbled the bag this much until they did Hellfire Leadership.
Nah.
Yeah.
Because Hellfire Leadership is really good.
Oh, it's really good,
It's
but
just
it's
that
too
you're
good, and
salty the fact
course I
that
am.
you can take anyone in it.
Look, why
Well,
did
you
they
could
make
feel-
Emma exactly how I wanted it, damn it?
You
feel
can
like
you
feel
can
like we've
limit
just
that
spent-
yourself.
I feel like
Yeah,
we've
but
just
that's
spent
not the
20 more
same,
seconds
'cause-
on Wolverine than Wolverine deserved, even though we're not talking about Wolverine.
Wolverine is the
let's
worst 4
talk
threat in the
about
game.
Hellfire instead.
Never play him. He is trash.
Okay, guys, well, I did mention that we were going to bring along some guest characters. So every time we do one of these, each of us are going to bring at least one, sometimes two. I maybe don't think three, because that would just make them too big. So Ron, let's go over to your choice first of all, and we'll see what everybody else thinks.
3, 2, 1.
Okay then, guys, so Doctor Strange, and it is a split decision. Ron Quinn, I know you guys love him. He's S tier for you guys.
I mean, we clearly have the correct opinions, as
For-
usual.
Best
For
character in
me-
the game.
For me, he's very, very, very good. But again, I can't quite put him into that S tier for me, purely because I think there is at least one, maybe two other big hitters in the form of the Witch and the Big Green Machine himself that I would be putting in front of Steve. Sorry, in front of
Steven.
Stephen, yes, I do apologise.
Also, if you're putting him in A, I think you need to take off two of those verys that you put when you were saying how good he was.
It's also okay to be wrong.
Yeah.
It's
You know,
fine, it's fine.
We make mistakes so we can learn from them. You haven't gotten to that bit on any of them yet, but we still hold out hope.
Why do you guys, Ron, let's start with you.
Ugh.
Doctor Strange's biggest fan. Why are you loving Strange in Avengers? And just to clarify, we are all talking about Strange here without a gem, right? Just for,
No gem.
just for clarification.
Wait,
yeah,
we're not talking about Time Gem Strange.
Ron,
Hog off,
fire
sorry,
away.
wisdom, 1 power, incredible. Oster's refuge, cost 2 power, heal 3. You have med pack every turn. He has full rerolls. He can push anyone. He can activate people. The guy is a fucking G. Best character in the game. Hands down.
Certified G, Stephen Vincent Strange.
No, I get it. Quinn, anything else to add?
Yeah, so, a long time ago, people might remember that we talked about the pillars of MCP. Not the pillars, those are different. They're called
That's
the
us.
bedroom. Strange is an exemplar of all three of those pillars. I was going to say pillars then again. The big thing for me in Avengers is Oster's, because not only can Flip Steve do this all day, with his buddy Steven, he could do this till the end of time. He goes like full Dormammu, bargaining, alongside Strange. Like Steven goes, Thanos, I've come to bargain, raise the shield.
I just think for me, why he doesn't quite make it into S's, there are a couple of others that I would want to put.
No,
in
we
ahead of him.
established the reason was because you're wrong.
Yeah, there is that as well. Yeah. Okay, Quinn, on to your guest appearance.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, Quinn, so your guest pick was one of the, if not the newest character that's been released for the game, or one of the two. Emma Frost. I'm assuming we're just talking about Emma Frost in a normal form here, though, Quinn, and not in her diamond form.
Well, I mean, that's one of the biggest things in Avengers, right? She gets to play with Steve. She has a bodyguard dedicated to making sure she never goes into that abysmally designed, pathetic form.
She does indeed. You've said S. Ron, you said A. I've said B. Quinn, let's go with you first, because obviously it's your pick. Why is Emma so good in Avengers?
So, first of all, she brings you, an affordable mystic option. And I know we've talked about Voodoo. My opinions on Voodoo were that, one, I don't like playing Voodoo because Voodoo is A, really good, and B, boring. I've just seen too much of him. Emma, she has Psychic Spike, which will always spike its roll, guaranteed. Um, she gives you control options in terms of bend will. She can move people around. She's sort of like a mini Strange in some ways. Rather than buffing defense dice, she's stopping control effects, stopping you getting pushed, placed, advanced. That can be really important for making sure that if you build a defensive castle with Steve, it doesn't get broken apart by the likes of Thanos. I mean, Thanos is also one of the biggest reasons why she's amazing in Avengers, because she just says no on round one. Um, like I said, Steve means that she never has to go into diamond form because he takes all the physical attacks and she pays one to brush off every single collision she takes. She's real good.
Yeah, no, it's fair enough. It's fair enough. Ron, anything to add to what Quinn said?
No, not really. Shield Mine for 1 power is very good. Her having Brace on tap is very, very good. And power inhibition as well.
Yeah.
Your opponent can't use reactive superpowers or tactics cards. Is also a very irritating thing to try and deal with. We've all played against Mystique multiple times, and as a Strange player, that bitch is annoying. The fact that I can't buff my defense dice, etc. Yeah, I think Emma's great pick. Really good.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. So then, rounding it out, let's take a look at my pick.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, so my pick, guys, was the brand new Sabretooth Apex Predator. I put him as S tier. You guys have put him as A tier. For me, one of the reasons why I think he's very, very good in Avengers is he just brings the pain, right? He's that medium pounce that he's got. We spoke about how good Black Panthers is, and yes, he still doesn't get it turned on round one, so it's less of a round one turn on with him, but just more of a consistent turn on. Because I've noticed one of the things with the new Sabretooth is he's really, really good, but you very rarely have enough power to do all of the things that you want to be able to do. And just being able to do a catch runt, got to be very careful how I say that one. The YouTube police. Not a ratch cunt, it's definitely a catch runt. And primal pounce for 5 power, I just think is very, very, power effective. I also think he brings a really good tactics card in Happy Birthday Run, being able to just finish off a character when somebody else doesn't. I think he's super powerful. And yeah, I just think he brings some much needed pure aggression, which, whilst you've got characters in Avengers that can pack a punch, there's only a handful of characters that are just purely all about aggression. And I think he's a good addition in there. Ron, what's your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I've played against Sabretooth a few times. I've not actually played with him myself, but I've played against him. He's really horrible to deal with. It's X-23 leveled up, and we all know how strong that character is. And yeah, the fact that you can give him a discount on all of his active superpowers is pretty amazing. And he is relatively tanky. He's 7 stamina, 4/3/4. He has healing factor 1. He is a brick, but he is a brick with claws.
Yeah.
He's
Quinn,
a
anything...
brick with some just broken glass glued onto it.
Quinn, anything to add there?
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything that's been said. For me, Happy Birthday Run isn't a super viable card. I think the activation token requirement is just a bit too iffy for me. I think, something that hasn't been mentioned, having a cost reduction on his ability to gain extra dice on an attack is really good for just like getting him in there with a builder and fueling the rest of his power economy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, doing 4 for 3 is okay, but 3 for 3 is, I think, very good.
Not quite Friday AI, but it's
not quite
almost
Friday
there.
AI, but it's also on a character that's doing a pierce and a bleed as well, right?
Yeah.
Not just a push. So increasing that chance to get the pierce in there is really, really good. Okay, so there we go, guys. That is our breakdown and ranking of every single Avengers character plus our special guests. Ron, any surprises from there that me and Quinn did that maybe you weren't expecting, or did you sort of, there wasn't really anything that caught you off guard?
No, everything's I think it's pretty reasonable for the points given. I don't think there was anyone put in any tier that they didn't deserve to be in. Maybe like they could go up one or they could go down one, but no big leaps or shocks.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything like egregious, right?
I think there was only ever a one different. I think there was times where a few of them where we all picked. There was a 3 difference, but they were consecutive. So it was like an A, B,
they
and
were all
C.
within one of another one, right?
Yeah, it was never 2 S's and a D or 2 D's and an S or something like that. And the big thing to always remember is that even the D tiers, like if you want to play them, they're all still you can still play them, right? They're gonna be okay. They're just not maybe as optimal as anything else. But yeah, hopefully, guys, you enjoyed this one. Like I said, we wanted to do something a little bit different. Let us know if you did enjoy it, and we'll maybe do some more of these as well. So let us know in the comment section below. If you want to support us on the channel, you can do by dropping a like. It really does help. Hitting that subscribe button. But also we've got our Patreon up and running now as well, where it does help Ron stay in vapes. 100% of all money donated via Patreon will buy Ron a different flavour of vaping liquid for the Bugle show. So yeah, just for you out there who who you are.
Professional.
If you haven't got the idea, we don't give a shit, by the way.
I mean, I do 95% of bugles in my fucking pajamas, so...
This is true. This is true. Ron, Quinn, thank you for joining me on this. It's been fun. It's going to be interesting to look at some of the other ones where I think we may have very, very... I mean, let's be honest. There's going to be a couple where we're going to be way off. I think Avengers was... Because most people thrive under Steve's leadership, unless you hit that subset of, you have no superpower here, you have no authority here, Iron Fist, or Ant-Man or Wasp. So yeah, guys, until next time, it leaves me with just enough time to say stay well, keep safe, and bye for now.
See ya.